if anyone has any questions. Before I begin.
In the last study you looked at the one with vitamin and herpes, did they give any suggestion as to why there was increased cytokine production with supplementation compared to the adequate levels?
Can I ask you a question?
If you go back to the charts about cytokine production in the herpes study, the last one, there was a higher production of cytokines with vitamin E deficiency. Then there was a much lower production of adequacy. But then when they supplemented with vitamin E, the cytokine production was higher again. Did they give any indication of why that might be?
I mean, it was a bit high, but it wasn't very significant. It wasn't like it was higher than the deficient.
But it was a trend toward being higher than adequacy?
That wasn't really the trend. I don't really understand what you're trying to say. But
Okay.
I don't think that was what they established.
I'm not sure how to say
All that they were trying to say was that given the supplemented diet didn't really do much to reduce the production of the inflammatory cytokines as they expected. It was rather the adequate diet that enhanced.
Right, and I'm wondering if they gave any suggestion as to why the adequate diet enhanced the immune system better than the supplemented diet.
No.
Okay, thank you.
It didn't look like there was a statistical difference between the adequate and the supplemented. In the previous experiment, you showed that with fish oil, it kind of suppressed, perhaps, for lack of a better word that I can think of, any benefit to vitamin E. What were the diets like that were fed, and could the fat or oil in the diet have affected how the supplementation, the effect of the supplementation versus the adequate level?
The adequate diet was statistically different from the deficient diet.
Right.
That was what they established.
But the supplemented, really, there was no indication of a statistical difference from the adequate.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if with the the supplementation, there wasn't, if the benefit potentially could have been ameliorated by the diet type. Was there an oil source in the diet that might have had an effect like the fish oil that would have, I guess, covered up any beneficial effect to supplementation?
The supplemental one was just the same as the adequate, just that they increased the concentration. So they didn't really add any other nutrient to it, so that I would know that maybe, like in the case of the fish oil, now you know the presence of the fish oil is what is causing it. This one was just the same, just that they increased the concentration. So maybe higher doses, there was a dose response effect.
You say immune function, can they have a difference between gentle, what's a gentle and example difference?
Actually, I didn't really look at it.
Yeah, you showed how inches, you don't have any examples, or is that true or not?
Something like X-linked gamma-globulin. If you are a female, a male, you are more predisposed to it.
Okay.
Because you need just one X to get the infection. Well, because it's recessive. But in a female, because you need, you get one X from your father, one X from your mom, it means for you to be infected with such a genetic defect, you have to get the X from your father and X from your mom. So the female will be more predisposed to it. No, the male will be more predisposed. It's easy for the male to get it than the female getting it.
I don't know, that really may help me. That's people, men and women, to infect AIDS is the same or
HIV
different?
infection rate is higher.
In
more
female.
exposed, yeah.
In female?
Mhm. Yeah, much easier to infect.
Then maybe you need to immune response.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, pregnancy and lactation, and that immune system response is somewhat different in women. So if you're lactating, you're going to be more susceptible to.
Any theories or explanation for why the negative relationship between vitamin E and the fish oil? fish oil is supposed to have these benefits to our health and make us better, but here you show there's a negative relationship.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that even though like, if you give them individually, they might have a beneficial effect. That doesn't necessarily mean that putting them together still will give the same. So maybe the interaction there like, is causing one to be, the bioavailability is being affected or something like that.
The bioavailability?
Yeah, of the guy. I mean, that was what they were insinuating. That they said they needed further studies to be able to establish that maybe the fish oil was making.
Are there any detrimental potential effects of fish oil versus, let's say, peanut oil?
Sorry?
Is there any detrimental possibility of fish oil within a cell as opposed to, let's say, a sunflower or peanut oil that you can think of? An omega-3 versus an omega-6, what would be the problem with omega-3? We hear all these good things about it, but there's one thing that a lot of people don't talk about with respect to double bonds. Isn't fish oil more saturated?
Yes.
And wouldn't there be a propensity to form more free radicals?
Well, maybe that was what was causing.
That to me would be the first place I would look. Now, I don't know if that's reality or not, or whether the vitamin A should sequester some of those free radicals, but maybe a balancing act too. That's just my first thought about it.
Yeah, I know they do that. When they went to AIA 93G diets, they increased the vitamin E levels because they were increasing the amount of unsaturated fat they were putting in there. So that's the thinking. I don't think it's ever been proved. The other aspect, I think, is, don't you think that it could possibly be acting through the same mechanism? I mean, you talked about prostaglandins, right? So fish oil, vitamin E.
Yeah. That's weird.
That looks more consistent to show. That's a mechanism you suggest vitamin E, but actually, as most people believe, that's why omega-3 fatty acid mechanism.
Because the bioavailability
I mean, I
would be
have
higher with oil in the diet, right? Because
Yeah.
fat soluble.
Yeah.
So it's maybe not necessarily bioavailability as much as a competitive exclusion or.
That's good, but you touch the topic is really big because immune function, very big topic. Actually, people still don't really understand. And mostly it's for chronic disease, like cancer, like heart disease, that how much immune function involved, even age, we're talking about big issues. We don't know how it's creating immune function, except maybe AIDS that's more relevant or lymphoma or something, but otherwise, that's a big challenge to understand.